A reading from 1 Samuel chapter 22. David fled from the city of Gath and went to a cave near the town of Adullam. When his brothers and the rest of the family heard that he was there, they joined him. People who were oppressed or in debt or dissatisfied went to him, about 400 men in all, and he became their leader. David went on from there to Mizpah in Moab and said to the king of Moab, "Please let my father and mother come and stay with you until I find out what God is going to do for me." So David left his parents with the king of Moab, and they stayed there as long as David was hiding out in the cave. Then the prophet Gad came to David and said, "Don't stay here. Go at once to the land of Judah." So David left and went to the forest of Hereth. One day, Saul was in Gibeah, sitting under a tamarisk tree on a hill, with his spear in his hand, and all his officers were standing around him. He was told that David and his men had been located, and he said to his officers, "Listen, men of Benjamin. Do you think that David will give fields and vineyards to all of you and make you officers in his army? Is that why you are plotting against me? Not one of you told me that my own son had made an alliance with David. No one is concerned about me or tells me that David, one of my own men, is right now looking for a chance to kill me, and that my son has encouraged him." Doeg was standing there with Saul's officers, and he said, "I saw David when he went to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub in Nob. Ahimelech asked the Lord what David should do, and then he gave David some food and the sword of Goliath the Philistine." So King Saul sent for the priest Ahimelech and all his relatives, who were also priests in Nob, and they came to him. Saul said to Ahimelech, "Listen, Ahimelech." "At your service, sir," he answered. Saul asked him, "Why are you and David plotting against me? Why did you give him some food and a sword and consult God for him? Now he has turned against me and is waiting for a chance to kill me." Ahimelech answered, "David is the most faithful officer you have. He is your own son-in-law, captain of your bodyguard, and highly respected by everyone in the royal court. Yes, I consulted God for him, and it wasn't the first time. As for plotting against you, your majesty must not accuse me or anyone else in my family. I don't know anything about this matter." The king said, "Ahimelech, you and all your relatives must die." Then he said to the guards standing near him, "Kill the Lord's priests. They conspired with David and did not tell me that he had run away, even though they knew it all along." But the guards refused to lift a hand to kill the Lord's priests. So Saul said to Doeg, "You kill them." And Doeg killed them all. On that day, he killed 85 priests who were qualified to carry the ephod. Saul also had all the other inhabitants of Nob, the city of priests, put to death, men and women, children and babies, cattle, donkeys and sheep. They were all killed. But Abiathar, one of Ahimelech's sons, escaped and went and joined David. He told him how Saul had slaughtered the priests of the Lord. David said to him, When I saw Doeg there that day, I knew that he would be sure to tell Saul. So I am responsible for the death of all your relatives. Stay with me and don't be afraid. Saul wants to kill both you and me, but you will be safe with me." The word of the Lord. A reading from 1 Samuel chapter 23. David heard that the Philistines were attacking the town of Keilah and were stealing the newly harvested grain. So he asked the Lord, "Shall I go and attack the Philistines?" "Yes," the Lord answered, "attack them and save Keilah." But David's men said to him, "We have enough to be afraid of here in Judah. It will be much worse if we go to Keilah and attack the Philistine forces." So David consulted the Lord again, and the Lord said to him, "Go and attack Keilah, because I will give you victory over the Philistines." So David and his men went to Keilah and attacked the Philistines. They killed many of them and took their livestock. And so it was that David saved the town. When Abiathar, son of Ahimelech, escaped and joined David in Keilah, he took the ephod with him. Saul was told that David had gone to Keilah, and he said, "God has put him in my power. David has trapped himself by going into a walled town with fortified gates." So Saul called his troops to war, to march against Keilah and besiege David and his men. When David heard that Saul was planning to attack him, he said to the priest Abiathar, "Bring the ephod here." Then David said, "Lord God of Israel, I have heard that Saul is planning to come to Keilah and destroy it on account of me, your servant. Will the citizens of Keilah hand me over to Saul? Will Saul really come, as I have heard? Lord, God of Israel, I beg you to answer me." The Lord answered, "Saul will come." "And will the citizens of Keilah hand my men and me over to Saul?" David asked again. "They will," the Lord answered. So David and his men, about 600 in all, left Keilah at once and kept on the move. When Saul heard that David had escaped from Keilah, he gave up his plan. David stayed in hiding in the hill country, in the wilderness near Ziph. Saul was always trying to find him, but God did not turn David over to him. David saw that Saul was out to kill him. David was at Horesh in the wilderness near Ziph. Jonathan went to him there and encouraged him with assurances of God's protection, saying to him, "Don't be afraid. My father Saul won't be able to harm you. He knows very well that you are the one who will be king of Israel, and that I will be next in rank to you." The two of them made a sacred promise of friendship to each other. David stayed at Horesh, and Jonathan went home. Some people from Ziph went to Saul at Gibeah and said, "David is hiding out in our territory at Horesh on Mount Hakilah, in the southern part of the Judean wilderness. We know, your majesty, how much you want to capture him, so come to our territory and we will make sure that you catch him." Saul answered, "May the Lord bless you for being so kind to me. Go and make sure once more. Find out for certain where he is and who has seen him there. I hear that he is very cunning. Find out exactly the places where he hides and be sure to bring back a report to me right away. Then I will go with you, and if he is still in the region, I will hunt him down, even if I have to search the whole land of Judah." So they left and returned to Ziph ahead of Saul. David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in a desolate valley in the southern part of the Judean wilderness. Saul and his men set out to look for David, but he heard about it and went to a rocky hill in the wilderness of Maon and stayed there. When Saul heard about this, he went after David. Saul and his men were on one side of the hill, separated from David and his men, who were on the other side. They were hurrying to get away from Saul and his men, who were closing in on them and were about to capture them. Just then, a messenger arrived and said to Saul, "Come back at once. The Philistines are invading the country." So Saul stopped pursuing David and went to fight the Philistines. That is why that place is called Separation Hill. David left and went to the region of En-Gedi, where he stayed in hiding. The word of the Lord.